All right, my guy Aaron Mershman and I were talking today, and it got me all geeked up. And I thought I'd review red light, okay? And red light means to wait. There's nobody in striking distance. So in other words, if this is the middle guy here, there's none of these defenders are close enough for him to touch him or for him to touch them unless somebody takes a step, okay? And the phrase I want you to remember is too soon, which means don't leave the line of scrimmage too soon, because if you do, too soon is too late to help the guys on either side of you. And the way I did it way back when was I called the red light area a foxhole. Okay, so this guy's in the foxhole right here, this middle guy. This is his left foot, this is his right foot. They've all taken their seaside step. And the backer's the bait. Okay, they want you to go out and get the backer so that you get picked and the backer scrapes. Okay, and in the old days we'd zone step and that would be a good exchange. But the back gap was where most of this stuff came in handy. So you'd go pierce. This guy would go this way. He'd go and attack you, hit you in the back of the head, and you would wind up having a 180 and chase the linebacker if you got him. But what it would do is it would force the back to him. Okay, so we don't want to take the bait because we don't want snipers getting us. Okay, so once again in this example here, the C side is your right gap. Okay, and the blind side is your left gap. The C side is where you see. That's where the open leg is to the right leg. You're stepping deep. We called it a brace, and it's really sort of a back in the old days we called it a 90. It's not quite a 90. We don't worry too much about degrees, but we have an open toe, open leg, okay? And I want to talk to you about the odd and even system. Okay, so we started doing this really in, it didn't affect the techniques, but it cleared up who was working with who a little bit better. It's the old box system, and basically the center is the captain of the ship, and he is going to call odd or even. If he calls even, and remember everybody's C side is to the right, what he wants is his C side guard to give him help. Okay, if he calls odd, he's releasing the C side guard, okay, and he's getting help from the blind side guard. Okay, and we really like that. And I'd like to give jitter. We had the jitter drill, but I want to use jitter as an actual technique, and shuffle, of course, is an actual technique. Okay, moving this way to the open leg, keeping the open leg back, keeping square. Jitter is the old brace, replace, rewind, shuffle, hammer. Okay, so what we're doing is we're bracing and replacing the right leg before we ever move the left leg. All right, so we want to stay square to air, and that means translation. In other words, we can make force without turning, and we want to be able to do that. We want to stay square to air so we can help both guards if we have to. Okay, I want you to remember that two hands turns you, so you want to be late with your two hands. Okay, you don't want to put two hands on anybody right away when you're in red light. Okay, and the worst thing that you can do is turn yourself away from your gap, rotate away from your gap to the blind side, because you're going to all kinds of mischief's going to go on in your C side gap, and you don't want to do that. You want to stay square to air, help. Don't make a decision too soon, because too soon is too late. Okay, and we want to jitter versus a gap. We want more rewind. Okay, so the old thing was brace, replace, rewind. So a gap, okay, we'll rewind a little bit more because the center's not coming as far. And C gap, we want less rewind. And this is both for even calls, okay? And the jitter drill, when you do it, when you practice in jitter, you got to keep the weight on the up foot or the closed foot. You got to have the weight. In fact, you got to have your head weight over your skis, okay? Weight on the closed leg, because otherwise you're going to lose ground. If you shuffle or jitter and step deep with the right leg, you're going to lose ground and you're going to lose power. Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay, and the old command for the jitter drill was brace, replace. And what that meant was, in this case, the C side to the right leg was going to step deep, and then it was going to replace itself. Now, it's not going to close. It's just going to bring the leg back to where you started, like you're rewinding a video, okay? And it's your C side foot we're talking about. Okay, if it's C gap run, you're only going to rewind once because the center is Apache. He's coming to you, and if you rewind too many times, you're going to shut him off. Whereas in the A gap, he's going to match, okay? He's going to match that shaded nose. And remember, this is all even call. He's going to match that shaded nose, and you've got more room to rewind and shut that nose off and give him a little more help, okay? Then in C gap, after you rewind, you would shuffle twice because you've already taken one step, okay? You'd shuffle twice and then figure out where you're going, usually a point backer or some hat that you've counted. In A gap, we gallop to the spot, okay? Wherever the spot is that we're responsible for. And the calls will tell us what to do with that. I'll show you that next. Okay, the production problem here. Okay, so in this case, we've got the A gap with an even call. The center is going to match. This is the match area. And he's going to say even. So this guy's going to brace, replace, rewind, and rewind again if he's got to. But remember that we're running the ball right here. Here's the read spot. And the backers are going to collapse on the read spot. We hope anyway. Okay. This guy, everybody's going to open their leg to the C side. And this guy is going to not rewind. We call it a dig. He's going to try and pull this guy out and define him for the guard, so the guard's not confused as to what he has to do. And remember, we're not turning here, all right? We're not turning here. This is the stovepipe side, and this would be a shoulder chip combo, okay? This guy would shoulder roll, chip, and work up to his spot, and this guy would skip to cover because he wants to get as close to this man as he possibly can. It's a double team, but we call it a shoulder chip or chip, okay, a chip double. And it's A gap. Okay, so here's the jitter. Remember, the center is going to cover, he's going to match the nose, and he's set himself up for more guard help. Okay, here in an odd call, we're going to chip combo this to this spot. This tackle's got this spot. It's the veer side. This is what we call the accordion side. Okay, and in odd, he's free to look to this spot here, okay? Now, if he can grab this guy because this guy's coming to him, great. But remember, unless this guy comes to his C side, he's looking at this spot. Now, this spot could be the outside backer, could be a safety, it could be anybody, a corner, whatever, all right? But he's got more freedom on the odd call to help the tackle and knock this guy out, okay? The only way he would take the end is if the end spiked to him. And if the end long stuck, he'd try to feed it to the center. The whole time he would not want to rotate, okay? So remember here, it's an even call. We want a jitter, okay? Center's going to match the nose. He's going to expect more guard help. Here in the odd call, he's got the blind side guard helping him. He's going to... He can help more to the outside, okay? Now in C gap, it's a little bit different, okay? And the difference is we're running the ball out here, okay? We're running the ball out here. So what we do is we Apache the nose. So we don't want that guard, when he's going to jitter, we don't want him to rewind too far because he's going to knock the center off. We want him to really kind of form a rock or a stone wall, and that center's going to drive it into him, and he's going to shoulder chip and flip that guy onto the center. Then he's going to shuffle off at the angle that he assumes that the backer is going to take because of the course of the ball. Okay, remember the difference. The center's Apache in the nose. Okay, the guard cannot, on an even call, shut off the center. So we're going to limit that to one rewind, okay, and let the center bring it to him. On an odd call C gap, the center's going to Apache. He's going to Apache this nose. And if he pops out here, he's going to put the brakes on because guess where he's at right now? He's in red light. This guy's going to Apache, and he's trying to turn this guy into green light for him. The center's going to one-hand this thing because remember, if he puts two hands on, he's going to turn. If he has to put two hands on to stuff it, he'll do it. But it's because the nose is coming with him. But if he can pop over here, he's going to go one hand. Now that frees the guard to shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, and that'll be the most he's going to do is 3 shuffles before he makes a decision. So he's either going to hammer this guy, or if the backer goes over the top, he's going to turn and put 2 hands on and plow him. Okay, but he's not going to turn until the backer tells him that by turning he can win. And if he plows him, what the theory is that the back will stay here and the backer will come back to the guard. Okay, so the right guard in this case may not have to help the center at all. But you know, if the thing expands all of a sudden, or if we're getting all kinds of calls, there's an add-on down here that's telling us that the nose is going to cut. He's got to see that, and he's got to stay square. If he turns too soon, he's not going to be able to help the center. So in other words, if an add-on drops in here, the nose is going to go this way. We want to turn that into an even call on the run. So it kind of fits together very nicely, odd and even. And I never used it in C-gap, but I would use it now. And I'd especially differentiate between the shuffle and the jitter. Jitter was always a drill for us, but now I would use it as a technique. Okay, so that's what I got for you today. It's for Aaron Mershman. He's my guy, Central Connecticut. All right, I think they're the Huskies. I don't know what they are. No, they're the Blue Devils. Kick ass, Blue Devils. They're like the Dukies. Okay, all right, we'll talk to you. Bye.